What a great week. We have had massive court victories, guys, back to back this week long. Guys, Aaron Dorr here, Chris Dorr, going to break down for you guys what has the liberals in fits right now all across the country.
Rage.
From Biden to attorneys general to little commies in your neighborhood. Everyone is pissed off because Clarence Thomas did it again. He upheld the rule of law again, and he has struck down. He has struck down the Trump era. Let's be honest, the Trump era bump stock ban here in America. It is a massive victory for gun owners, a 6-3 opinion today. It's a huge victory for all of us.
Yeah, and we've got just one recommendation for those of you who are ticked off about this. It's cope and seethe. Cope and seethe. Because we wish nothing better for you than to do that. Aaron, if we could have a visual picture of what's going on right now in a lot of these, like if we could see them in their little holes. Do you have a picture of what these people look like right now?
There it is.
That's it. That's it. That's exactly it. Cope and seethe and scream.
They don't do it very well.
Because your attempts to try to pass gun control through executive fiat and rather than going through Congress just got a total slap by Judge Clarence Thomas, my brother from another mother.
That's right.
And we're going to take you guys through that right now. I've been getting text messages from legislators all over America for the last couple of the last 2 hours. One of them said, "I'm so happy I could cry right now." And yes, thankfully it was a woman. I'm about teared up myself. So, Aaron, why don't you kind of bring us into this 6-3 decision by the majority court?
Well, first of all, it's just such a cool thing to have a 6-3 opinion. I mean, for our entire lives up until a couple of years ago, it was always 5-4 if you won it all. And so now to have 6-3 is a phenomenal thing. Could not be happier. Well, I could be happier. 7-2 was better than 6-3, but we'll see.
Cool.
We'll see what the future holds. But I think that the main takeaway here for anybody watching this is not to forget what this is ultimately about. It's not ultimately about the bump stocks, and frankly, it never has been. The bump stock issue, the pistol brace issue, all of these are the outworking of the National Firearms Act, a corrupt, tyrannical piece of gun control that was passed a long time ago. And the National Firearms Act is not settled law. It's like a shoebox. And so whenever Biden wants to ban some new accessory, he just opens up the lid of the NFA and he tosses in your bump stock and he slams the lid shut. And tells the ATF, all right, boys, go out there and enforce this and arrest those SOB patriots who have a pistol brace in this case or bump stocks in this case. That's cool.
That's actually a really good point that not a lot of people talk about is that they don't ever just pass straight up gun control bills. They pass gun control framework bills. And anybody who listened to Biden just the other day, he talked about it at his Gun Sense University address to the Lion Commie Mommy Brigade that there's so much work they have to do now to build on and expand the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act. So, yeah, good point.
So this is just an expandable framework, which the NFA was, and the pistol brace, in this case, bump stock issue, is the latest victim of this, or it was until this morning. And so what they did was simply say, well, this item is now controlled by the National Firearms Act. It's same as a machine gun. And so you'd have to go through those processes. And if you had one, you were under orders as of, I think it was January of last year, Chris, or March of last year, to surrender it. Or no, I'm confusing with pistol braces. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's pistol braces. Bump stocks have been
or face 10 years in prison, 10 years in prison and a massive fine. And those days are gone. And Clarence Thomas had a very awesome opinion. I read the whole thing word for word a little bit ago. So did you, Chris. 20 pages of freedom on text. And what was hilarious to me was that Clarence Thomas didn't even have to use the big arguments. He didn't even have to say, you guys bypassed Congress. You mandated gun control by fiat. That's tyranny. He didn't even have to do that. All he did was he beat Biden's ass by using his own arguments against him about what a machine gun actually is.
That's actually one of the most satisfying things about this whole ruling. And we're big believers in this here at the American Firearms, whatever platform you're watching this on right now, quite frankly, at using the enemy's rules against them, forcing them to live under their own rules. And that's exactly what he did here. Aaron, you've read the whole thing. And
yeah, we have some
and
phenomenal quotes. I mean, for those who don't know what a bump stock is, it attaches to the back of your rifle and it allows your body to kind of harness the energy of the recoil, and it allows the gun to function at a faster rate. But the media wants you to believe that it's an absolute machine gun. If you've ever used one, you know it's not really that way, because your supporting hand has to hold that rifle forearm just right. Too much pressure, it doesn't work. Not enough, the gun jams. It doesn't work reliably. And that's what Clarence Thomas said. He said that the gun requires two hands. It is not simply a single depression of the trigger to function as a full auto. And he said, we conclude that semi-automatic rifles equipped with a bump stock is not a machine gun because it does not fire more than one shot by a single function of the trigger. And he even, Chris, you saw this, he even went so far as to have drawings in the opinion to show the ATF, because everyone's watched Dettelbach, right? You've watched him in hearings. I've been there in hearings with Dettelbach, and they'll ask him, what's a machine gun? What's a pistol brace? What's a bump stock? And Dettelbach's always like, I don't know. So Clarence Thomas,
Dettelbach, hey, I'm going to fall on this sword. Dettelbach is your classic Northern Ohio brain dead liberal. He really has no clue, but he's riding for the brand because he's made his entire life career a public service of being a slave for the left. So yeah, that's exactly what Clarence Thomas is not.
Yeah, he put the drawings in the decision so that Dettelbach can Google and find out what the hell is a machine gun. And so he showed him, this is what a machine gun is. This is what a bump stock is. And it does not allow the firearm to be operated by a single press of the trigger at full auto capacity.
He made it so that the crayon eaters like this one could actually figure out what was going on or what he was meaning by it.
So. He had one more quote too. He said that a bump stock is not a machine gun for a second reason. Even if a semi-automatic rifle with a bump stock could fire more than one shot by a single function of the trigger, it would not be able to do so automatically. And that's where he explained in detail, I'm talking about paragraphs and paragraphs, how it needs a supporting hand to make the rifle function the right way with a bump stock. He wrote this like he's been an Army Special Forces firearms instructor for like 20 years. It's amazing the detail he went into.
It's actually a really good point, and it leaves me sitting here begging. I really want to know the answer to this question. Does this guy actually know guns that thoroughly himself? And I wouldn't be surprised because, he probably goes out to the good old boy clubs on the outskirts of up there in Maryland somewhere. I'm sure he can find some special forces boys to go shooting with. Or does he have like some awesome based legal clerks that are like totally kitted out and could come in there and explain this to him and say, here, boss, this is how this works. This is why these guys are fools. I want to know.
What's cool about it too was I was telling you, Chris, a minute ago. So Clarence Thomas, he's obviously the workhorse for gun owners when it comes to all things in the Second Amendment right now. But Justice Alito, the dude cracks me up. Justice Alito cracks me up. I shouldn't call him dude, because he has a half a page opinion where he pretty much is like, yeah, all that he said. Oh, yeah. And then he has a very good shot across the bow of today's Democrat Party and the rhino backstabbing traitors who want to ban bump stocks. He says there's a simple remedy for the disparate treatment of bump stocks and machine guns. Congress, this is genius. Wait for it. Congress can simply amend the law. And he says, and perhaps would have done so already if the ATF had stuck with its earlier interpretations of bump stocks. Now the situation has been made clear by us, he's saying, Congress can act. So Alito is being very clear. He's like, hey, if you commies, if you gun-grabbing tyrants, if you want to ban bump stocks, then have the balls to do it on the floor of Congress. Take the roll call vote so the American people can hold you accountable if you want to vote for tyranny. And they don't have the balls to do that right now.
And what I also enjoyed about this very thoroughly, even though she's dead, was this was all very predictable. It was even predictable to then alive, not unalive, Senator Dianne Feinstein. She had said something to the effect that that the NRA's lawyers were going to have a field day with this because it was hinged on a dubious analysis, and that the ATF lacked the statutory authority to prohibit bump stocks in the first place. So even some of the hardcore radical lefties on the other side could see what was happening here, the dangers of the path that they were pursuing. But I think this all is part of the left, or was part of the left's strategy to throw so much crap at the wall, to see how much it could, to see how much could stick, so that they could then start building on that with successive attempts like the ATF's pistol brace ruling and things like that. So this really cost them a lot. And let's not forget, and I'll just go there and say this because not a lot of people are willing to say this, but let's just not forget that this thing was never used in an actual thing anyway. It was never used by the
never seen any proof anyway.
It's never been proven that this was used by anybody. So don't let that cow, Letitia James or whatever her name is, don't let her sit there and try to say stuff that to try to make these claims. Don't let anybody claim that this was used in some kind of a previous crime, because it's never been proven to be the case.
And just don't forget then, folks, the next time there's a shooting somewhere, the next time some president on the left, on the right, whatever, tries to then point to an accessory and say, we have to ban this, that is absolutely the wrong approach to take. That is the definition of tyranny, of bypassing Congress and mandating gun control through executive order. Thank God this Supreme Court could shut this down. And it took years. This happened in 2017. It's been, it's been about 7 years, but never forget that that Clarence Thomas took 7 years to get here, but they took care of it. Thank God. And, literally, thank God. There's a Bible verse that comes to mind here. And I was trying to find it a minute ago, Chris, as we were talking. I think it's Proverbs 29:2. When the righteous increase, the people rejoice. When the wicked rule, the people groan. And we have groaned in this country for a long time, and we're by no means out of the woods. I'm not trying to imply that.
No.
But so often we get victories like this, and when that happens, we should all be very thankful for that kind of grace. But Chris, that wasn't the only massive gun victory in court this week. We have a second one.
Before we move on to the next one, I wanted to talk about one thing here really quickly, and that is, this is the case at the federal level. Bump stocks are no longer illegal at the federal level, but there are many states that have passed their own state level version of a bump stock ban. And if you live in one of those states like California, I think Washington, Illinois,
New York,
New York State. Yeah, a lot of these states,
Illinois,
they might still have these things in place. And so for those of you who were comfortable being a felon under this federal ATF rule, maybe the load has lightened a little bit, but that does not mean you're out of the woods at your state level. And be aware, these people will absolutely persecute you and prosecute you. If they have an ATF agent or one of their state law enforcement agents show up at your local shooting range and they see you out there bumping off a couple drums worth of celebratory 5.56 right now. So just keep that in mind.
But the good news for folks in these blue states is that, number one, let's just be honest, if you ever contemplate going to a red state, now you have these freedoms available to you, which you would not have had otherwise, number one. And number two, this is the continual death knell of administrative gun control from this White House, or frankly, any other White House as well. So they can mandate gun control left, right, and center, but we're hearing on a repeat basis now is that it will not survive in court. So there's a lot of reasons to be thankful either way. But yes, if your state bans them, your state bans them, and you have to be very careful to be aware of those laws. But the big one, the second big one for the week, Chris, it's been a twofer, is the pistol brace issue. And everyone's been watching this. This has been going on for a long time. All of our state groups and American Firearms Association have been an amicus brief on this case. And awesome news out of the Texas district courts today. Last week, the judge's name is Matthew Kaczmarek. And if you ever want a fun little ride, like hop on YouTube and just type in Matthew Kaczmarek, a video search, and watch how much the left has hated this guy before he issued this opinion. But for those who know, we're talking about a pistol brace is identical in the way it looks with a normal AR-15 buttstock. You cannot tell them apart from 5 feet away, and it functions similarly, but the ultimate design is to make it easy for those who lack upper body strength, or those who are disabled, those who are military veterans who have literally lost limbs, as was the case of one of the people in this case, to more easily stabilize an AR pistol. That's what it is. Functionally, it looks like anything else. And so the idea that the ATF has no problem with a buttstock for a rifle, but suddenly wants to ban pistol braces, was always stupid. And when we were in hearings with the ATF, Chris, we had Congressman Massey hold up a buttstock and a pistol brace. And he asked Dumb Dettelbach, which one is which? And I don't know. So great news. This law, it was never a law. This order has been totally blocked. It has no authority. It is not effective by the ATF any longer. The issue came down 2 days ago. The case is Brito versus ATF. And for those who've been watching this case, it's already been dealt with at district court level, and it was actually upheld there. It then went to the circuit court level in the 5th, and everyone knows that these days in America, the 5th Circuit is the pro-gun circuit in the country
for gun control rules.
Yeah, and so the 5th took an approach on this and said, look, frickin' Biden and ATF cannot mandate gun control by fiat. Specifically, it said it violated the Administrative Procedures Act, which is to say that you can't make law by rulemaking. There has to be an actual law passed in Congress to be able to do this. And so the 5th destroyed it already. They then said, hey, Judge Kaczmarek, now that we've just like toppled the entire authority structure of the pistol brace ban, go back and review it and see if anything else still stands. And no surprise, Kaczmarek is like, nope, this entire thing is out. It is done. It cannot be enforced. Biden can kiss our butt. Now, they will likely, potentially be able to appeal this.
Well, I was just gonna ask you that. Are they going to do that now? Because my gosh, or maybe they're masochistic. Maybe they like getting their ass beaten or something by the court. I don't know.
They could appeal. I mean, you've now got conflicting opinions, and so they may appeal it now. They've got their butt kicked in the district court and now in circuit court, so they may appeal to the Supreme Court. But man, these guys are on a losing streak, and it's not going to end anytime soon. So we will have to see. But for the time being, the pistol brace ban from the feds is absolutely blocked. It is no longer in effect. And not a lot of states have passed a pistol brace ban. I think very few, as in maybe none, have actually passed a pistol brace ban.
Not that I know of.
A lot of the blue states have passed the bump stock ban, but I think a lot of them were waiting to see what was going to happen with the bump stock ban to decide, are we going to waste our time in banning pistol braces? They might try and do it now in light of this decision from the courts, but for the time being, this thing is over. So two major victories.
Yeah, I would also just throw this out there because we saw this in July of 2022. Make no mistake about this, the left is not going to take this as a loss and then just proceed to go on with their lives. Like, they never ever do that. So in 2022, when we saw Roe v. Wade get struck down immediately, and I was actually there in D.C. when this happened, but you had people like that U.S. senator from Massachusetts. I forget what his name is. It's not Chris Murphy. It's the other one, or maybe he's from Connecticut. Anyway, the left instantly got up there, and they were using that loss of theirs on that issue to immediately demand court packing. So that's exactly what I anticipate. That's going to be a huge result of what we're seeing right now. They're going to want to expand the court from 9 to 13. I doubt they would go 11. 13.
No, it's 13. 15. They have bills already filed. They already have bills filed.
Okay. Yeah. So that's the natural course of action for them here is to go in that direction. And of course, they will absolutely try to make gun control a massive issue in the upcoming presidential elections as well. So,
they want to add 100 district court judges as well. That's already in legislation proposed in Congress. And they want to go from 9 to 13 because going from 9 to 11 doesn't fix their problem. That's not enough. That's back to a 5 to 4 court, I believe. It'd be on that split.
And then also by having a larger bench, it allows them to get, more time and opportunities then to swap out different people when they get control. So their goal is then, if they get in, they want to get the youngest people possible in there so they can have long-term, tenures on the bench, and give them ample opportunity to replace them the next time a lefty gets elected. So,
yeah, like Justice Brown, for example. Ketanji Brown is very young. She'll be there for decades and decades and decades.
And she's just dumber than hell.
She came in to find a woman. She came in to find a woman. That's
look inside her own pants or down her own shirt to figure out exactly what she is. So that's how stupid. I mean, that's how dumb these people are.
For those who are asking what does come next at the Supreme Court level after the elections in November, because nothing's going to happen between now and November, but what's going to happen next? Well, Sonia Sotomayor, who was confirmed in 2009, now travels with a medic whenever she travels longer distances. No, you can Google it. It's all over the news.
I mean, it's everywhere.
She's going to Starbucks nearby if she gets to do that. No problem. But when she travels distances, she has to bring a medic because her diabetes, how you pronounce it, depends on what part of the country you live in. Yeah, it's bad enough that she has to have a medic with her when she travels. So the next president will undoubtedly be appointing at least one, nominee to the Supreme Court. Of course, President Trump put 3 justices on the Supreme Court. It is ironic that President Trump is the one who made a huge mistake and banned bump stocks by executive authority. However, the same justices that he put on the court said, no, that's not how this works. And we're going to strike that down. And of course, the Biden White House went all in with Merrick Garland to help uphold that decision in the Supreme Court. And there it is. There it is.
My man.
I mean, that guy is fighting. Put that back up there. You can just tell. You look at that guy's face, like he's fighting hard to keep that smirk off his face because this guy is he's done more to safeguard freedom through God's common grace than any Republican Congress that we've had in our lifetime. And any Republican president, frankly, that we've had in our lifetime when it comes to the Second Amendment. So
every other special interest group gets a payoff when Republicans get power. I mean, every single other special interest group. But what have gun owners ever gotten legislatively for all of the work that they do to get control of Congress and the White House? Not one thing, and far worse than that, they get shivved in the ribs. I'm sick and tired of that.
Yep. Anyway, guys, that's the wrap up for right now. It's a great victory. We're very thankful to be a part of this for you through our legal team and our amicus briefs. Much more to come. These issues are not going to go away. We have upcoming cases on Biden redefining what a gun dealer is, and much more is coming. As Chris said, they're not going to take this loss and simply go home. But for today and for this weekend, pop off, dump a mag for Clarence Thomas. Dump a mag for Clarence Thomas, even if it's 50 cents around right now. Dump a mag for Clarence Thomas and be thankful for this massive victory we had this week in court. Much more to come, guys.